Welcome, everyone. This is Planet News, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week, we're joined by Krister
Hello.
and Cinders.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. And are you ready for a week that actually has news?
Oh, no.
Yay!
Okay, I'm going to go get my coffee.
All right.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Last week's title was The Eye of the Update Storm. Well, here comes the eye wall. Yes. First off, we had an update. We had update 42.4, which was released on Wednesday, January 29th. And first off, a special note, in preparation for the introduction of new 64-bit worlds, we are increasing the base number of character slots available to VIP and premium accounts. VIP accounts and active subscriptions will have access to 12 free player character slots, which is an increase from 7. That means 5 additional character slots. And premium accounts will have access to 10 free player character slots, which is an increase from 5. So that's also an increase of 5. And character slots on free accounts and for Monster Play characters are unchanged. So you could use those extra slots. Maybe if you're consolidating characters from 2 different servers, it'll give you a few more extra character slots of wiggle room as you bring the 2 together. Now, of course, if you've got 2 servers that are completely full and you're planning on sending them to the same server, that's an entirely different matter.
Sans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I suspect that she's going to probably keeping some characters on the old servers just so that
she doesn't have a choice.
She is having a hard time deciding which ones are going to get to move and which ones are not.
I mean, I think you could technically replace Saruman with Sans in the scene where he's talking to Wormtongue, and they step outside the tower, and there's the army. There's the army out there, and that's really just all Sans' characters.
She does seemingly have her own little army.
That's how I always felt. I was like, if I needed to call an army, it's going to be Sans, Ray, and Hera, and then I'll probably have half the tunes that exist in Middle Earth between the 3 of them. That's what just blew me away. I just working through the the routines of acquiring new stuff or getting the rep and doing the work, and just to think about the intimidation factor of going, all right, I've just got to do this 50 times.
Oh, but see, with Sans, that's not what she did. She's made a new character for every mood.
I love it. Okay, that's
every
great.
Mood?
So
I'm feeling needy, so let me play my habit.
So all of her characters are created when she's in a specific mood. And so depending on the mood she was in when she created them, if she's not in that mood when she comes back to play, they don't get played. And so all of her different characters are either created for a specific purpose. Like her captain she made specifically to run with my guardian, which was really funny because that's not the way to progress with any kind of speed.
Right.
Are you fine with a Runekeeper?
Runekeeper goes much faster.
Yes.
And then she made a Runekeeper specifically to run with Cinderina. And we Aria'd both and all those things. So they've progressed more together. But no, so her captain and my guardian were created right together. But all the rest of them, like, they're made with a specific mood. And if you can tell just by looking at their face, on any of her characters, the mood that she was in when she created it.
She used /move then.
No, like when you on the character design screen,
you touched on.
She would pick the mouth and eyes that made the face match how she was feeling.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Without realizing she was doing it, I figured it out when she was making another new character. I was like, why are you doing that? She's like, well, I just feel like this. I was like, you realize that's the face you gave that character, right? She's like, what? I was like, they're all like that. She's like, oh, yeah. So her characters are mood based. Also in ESO, they're mood based. And so yeah, that if you ever are wondering how Sans is feeling, unless you've asked her to bring a specific tune to something, check the face.
Oh, yeah,
And
but usually when she plays with me, she plays with the same character.
uh-huh.
So that means she only will play with me when she's in a certain mood, probably.
No, that means that playing with you puts her in that mood.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, I bet it's that look. I bet she has that look of like shock. You know, where you just have your mouth open, your eyes are wide.
Well, it's almost always Sanswinda, right? Like almost always it's Sanswinda that plays with Pineleaf. And Sanswinda is her like outgoing, boisterous, mischievous kind of a mood. And yeah. So
All right. And
totally
let's
a
go to the-
sidetrack, but yes,
Totally a let's get back
mood-based.
into let's get back into the update notes because we were talking about some update notes here.
Sorry, my
All right.
bad.
Yes. All right. For events, the Ill Omens event returns this year with new level cap 150 portents. These portents will also be available via Delvings in the future. The Ill Omens skirmish event begins at 10 a.m. Eastern on January 30th, so it is currently running, and runs until 3 a.m. Eastern on February 19th. In order to get a portent, you need to complete 10 days worth of the delving quest, which on the delving quest, they give you 4 or 5 skirmishes to do, and you need to complete the delving in one less than that total. So if there are 5 of them, then you'll need to complete 4 skirmishes with the Ill Omen, with the Harbinger in there. I heard you sigh there.
Yeah.
Oh,
it won't
you don't
be
have time
me.
to do it.
I don't have.
Okay.
I would love to. Actually, no. I should. Let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
I would be interested. I don't know that I would love to. I would be interested in trying to do that, but I literally have no time to do that this time.
Yeah. I
Next
don't get
year.
excited. Yeah. I don't get too excited about the portents because that means being able to time using them right at the right time to get the most benefit from them, because I think it's in like a 30-minute cooldown with 15 seconds of benefit. So you have to know when to use them and stuff like this. And that would just drive me crazy trying to do it. Now, that golden tracery that you also get as a reward in there. Now that I'm more interested in.
Yeah, that would be the part I would be interested in as well.
Yeah. Right. Also, Adventurers and Travelers steel-bound loot boxes contain a new Mushroom Hunter cosmetic item, including Avatar Cosmetics, a War Steed accessory, a Frog cosmetic pet, and new housing items, including a hearth and wallpaper. And these items are also available for Rowan Raspberry for Figments of Splendor. Please note that the hearth right now is a little bit smaller than intended, and that they plan to increase the size of it in a future patch. I suspect that future patch is probably going to be update 43, but we'll see if there's another update before then. Adventurers and Travelers steel-bound loot boxes now contain a Mushroom Hunters pack and a Mushrooms Hunters Corgi cosmetic pets. These items are not available for barter, so therefore the Hunters pack and the Corgi, they are only in the loot boxes. The rest of the items I mentioned earlier, they're in the loot boxes plus Rowan Raspberry. And in case you didn't hear, the Rowan Raspberry has arrived. Yes, the following pet and housing items are now available with Rowan Raspberry: the Tome of the Seaside Sandlurker, the Macaque Rock, the Tall Macaque Palm, and the Macaque Palm. And since Rowan Raspberry has arrived, that means Filbert Fig has retired for the season. They're also noting that Angmar and Mordor will be advancing to level 65 on their cap on April 30th. So that's 3 months away from now. But they wanted to give you plenty of warning. I think because people were complaining they didn't give enough advance warning to it. So that's the announcement that this is when Angmar and Mordor will be advancing to level 65. And their absence instance cluster will become available on June 4th. So that means there'll be a month of play on Angmar and Mordor before the in their absence clusters open up. And finally, those Yule Hobbit presents, which I'm sure people were getting fond of because they had stayed over long, have been retired for the season. We will be expecting to see them again next Yule, or unless they have one of those Yule in July events like they had last year. But we'll see.
Yep, because my mom likes playing Christmas music 6 months out of the year, so having Yule packages extend past the holiday wouldn't be a surprise to me.
Okay.
Say, I like your mom. Never met her, but I like
her. I feel like Christmas music has its place at Christmas.
I'm not going to say anything because I'm sitting here with my Christmas tree up and plugged in, and my snow village up and plugged in, and my outdoor Christmas lights still plugged in. So,
that was at my grandma's house. She always kept the outdoor Christmas lights up, and so that was part of the tradition. You put up the tree, and then you grab the ladder, and you go out and you replace all the bulbs that burned out during the year.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So Sam had 60 characters on each server.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, see, I'm going to add Sam to the list.
61 slots.
Yeah, out of 61 slots. Oh, good luck in consolidating that list.
Yeah.
Says he hasn't counted what he has now, but the update that adds 5 more for VIP should mean he'll have 66 slots.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
66 tunes on the queue.
All right. So, yeah. I would say find which characters you play most often. And actually, thing with Sam, though, is that at least when he plays with us, he's playing on the US side. And I suspect that he is going to try to do most of his playing when he's not playing with us. He might be using the EU side because I'm sure he would love those EU pings.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
I would imagine.
I would imagine, yes. Let's get back onto our release notes. Or for general notes, most Lothlorien items bartered with Lothlorien silver branches and gold leaves now cost 20 to 50% fewer of those items. Since players now experience Lothlorien for shorter periods than originally was released, it can be hard to collect enough branches and leaves before Lothlorien is no longer relevant to their characters. This change should make many Lothlorien rewards more attainable for players experiencing this zone at level 60. Bartered class based ranged weapons from the new Equiband instance clusters can now only be equipped by the class that they are designed for. The blue dragon frame available from community events will now display on Monster Play characters as well as Free People's characters. Clipping issues with the Rohirrim Patron's Coffer Steed have been corrected. Fixed an item where favoring standing bonuses were not checkpointed properly. Your favorite standing status will now be saved between client sessions. I do see that it is working more consistently now than it was in the past, which is good.
I don't play enough tunes to notice.
You don't have to play enough tunes to notice, right? Because you usually play on your highest.
Yeah, lately I've been playing on my highest tiered character.
Yes, but I've been noticing that whenever my burglar or my hunter are completing missions in the Equiband Valley, that when I click on the clicky, I am getting a little bit of a bonus to what I was normally getting when my Runekeeper was going through there. My Runekeeper is my highest one in there, so granting a bonus to the rest of my characters.
That explains how you've gotten so far ahead of me.
Well, that plus the fact that I may have occasionally snuck in and done some missions.
Rude.
Uh-oh.
Betrayal!
See, Cinders, what do they say? Is the dark side more powerful? No, but it's quicker.
All right. We have adjusted the wording in the favorite standings to reflect the benefit increases the reputation early earned by allied tier as well. A typo in the description of the new favored standing page of the reputation panel has been corrected.
Oh, I hope
The-
it said flavored.
The new added stable masters in Moria now appear on radars and maps. Good.
That's helpful. Yeah.
All stable masters in Moria now display their title in the map tooltips. Swift rides from Dol Amroth original to Breetown, 21st Hall, and Aldburg have had their level usage requirements adjusted. Fix an issue where several of the collection tab titles were cut off on the French and German clients. In German, corrected a string table error in the German localization of the turn-in objectives for the Songs of Waste and Winds Chapter 12.5 quest, not an enemy, if not a friend. An issue where personal skirmish trait bonuses were sometimes applying in non-skirmish instances has been corrected. Ooh. Of course, at the capital level, that probably didn't make much of a difference. They're probably a pittance compared to all the other bonuses we get. Boars in the instance, Rafuz's challenge now correctly advance the inhular disease boar deed instead of incorrectly advancing the Ambarul boar deed. You
That's
remember that one,
probably
Cinders?
good, but I'm really glad that we didn't have that change made initially.
Yes, that did help us finish the Ambarul boar deed a lot faster.
Yeah, I'm sorry to everybody who didn't get to experience it the other way. May the odds be ever in your favor as you try to get your however many boar out of one little dinky area. Good.
For the champion, armor of the axe handler no longer erroneously refers to an unspecific set of defensive skills. It now correctly states that it reduces the cooldown of adamant. Many Lotharian reputation items were set to a higher than intended item level, and some were giving inappropriately high morale bonuses. These items have been these items have been adjusted down to item levels 59 to 60 with the appropriate stat budgets. Sorry about that.
It doesn't affect me.
Yes. Kuguru from the Halls of Crafting now grants vitality in addition to its other stats. Fixed some tooltips in the collection's bauble page, which erroneously referenced mounts, and the Arid Mithrin quest, trusted tools and crafts of old will no longer remote bestow to qualifying characters while they are inside the mission area of interest. Please, thank you. That is so annoying with that always popping up when I did that mission. And that's it for general notes. So let's go into instances. And many of these instances are with either the Ikerben Valley instances, since that's at cap level, or to the ones in Lothorian and Moria, since that's the cap level that we have over in the other area, over
Angmar and Moria.
Angmar
and Mordor.
So Nagmar and Mordor, the legendary servers. So let's start with near Gumbar, the Restless Tomb, where Sakarshag's frustration buff will no longer inappropriately wrap around to tier 5 when it hits more targets than its current tier. Tul Jakana fixed an issue wherein additional enemies were not being properly removed on player death in the Utugi stage of the Mook Bahora fight. Fixed a graphical issue with the Imhurali spider shades in a Mook Bahor fight. Fixed an issue wherein the player skill Smite Evil was not smiting Imhurali spider shades despite the quite evil nature. Animations now play correctly for Utugi Devastators and Utugi Shades in the Merc Bahora fight, and attacks from Shades in the Bohora fight now play different animations for weak, medium, and heavy shadow attacks.
Okay, does anybody else hear Utugi and think about like Ewoks? And it doesn't make it that scary at that point. So,
Um, I've never seen the Star Wars movies.
oh, I don't even want to talk to you anymore. Either.
Wow.
Oh boy! Well, at least when you do watch them, it should be pretty cool.
That's probably not going to happen.
Okay, so Star Wars doesn't have the stronghold that it had on previous generations.
No, it does. It just has no pull on me.
The Force does not.
I,
Cinders, use the Force. No. Oh, okay. I'll go over here and tell Luke.
Alright, let's now go to the Moria Lothlorian instances. For the Moria instance challenge in chess now have an improved chance to drop rare rewards.
That's nice.
Medallions of Lothlorien can now be bartered to receive silver branches and gold leaves. Medallions of Moria and Lothlorien can now be bartered to receive basic legendary item components. For Dark Delvings, fix several issues with Void Eater's class-based debuff tooltips. Fix an issue with Doomspeaker's phase buffs. Both Void Eater and Doomspeaker now benefit from being in the shadows, gaining the primal darkness, which is still fully negated by the light from runestones. Primal darkness now enhances enemies' offense and defense slightly. It is still completely negated by a light from runestones, though. And the duration of bleeding ears has been reduced to 8 seconds. We want those ears to be bleeding as little as possible. In the Forges of Khazad-dûm, water pouches now drop twice as frequently. The initial hit damage and critical magnitude of Thrug's Forstorm ability has been reduced significantly, and the damage over time applied to allies when Thrug targets you with Firestorm is now much shorter and will fall off when combat ends. In Fil-Gashan, Commander Greb's counterattack no longer triggers on dot damage. Some equipment from Phil Gashan has lower than intended stat values. These items have been buffed slightly to give the intended amounts for their stats, matching similar items from other instances. Commander Greb's counterattack during duration has been reduced to 10 seconds. Commander Tolug's encounter has been adjusted slightly to make the core mechanic a little less finicky and speed up the overall speed of the encounter. General Tulloch now moves slightly faster, even when his shield is up. His vulnerability from successfully luring him into a fire trap now increases his incoming damage by 50% rather than only negating his immunity. He will now be susceptible to fire traps even if a player has ignited him after he is doused in oil. He will stop being vulnerable after the burning oil expires. Talog's Fane's caster will now drop his fire trap a little closer to himself, which ought to reduce the frequency at which it spawns under walls, pillars, and other objects in the encounter space.
That's too bad because that sounds like it doesn't appear under you then.
Yes.
That stuff.
Yes. Burns applied by fire traps and fire damage while doused in oil, dropped after the fire fist is killed, not the effect applied by the fire fist target skill, are slightly more potent and can no longer be cleansed by skills or potions, but will require you to run into the waterfalls on either side of the room. Waterfalls will now cleanse burns as soon as you step into them and no longer require you to stand in them for several seconds. Thank goodness, it sounds like. In the Hall of Crafting, the goose.
Same to you, buddy.
Yes. That guy's max morale has been reduced significantly. In Scumfell, Wandring's health has been reduced by 20%. Gobsnaga Guard Spider health has been reduced by 20%. Brumbereth and Grim Reaper have had their stats adjusted slightly to bring them closer to one another and reduce the overall difference of choosing one side versus the other. And Brumbereth's mitigations have been reduced, but her health increases slightly to compensate. And Grim Reaper's health and mitigations have both been reduced dramatically, but his offensives increased slightly. For Philakil, Nornuen's health has been reduced by 8%, and his rewards have been improved. For Narbugud, Chess and Dar Narbugud now have a slightly greater chance to reward you with more than one elf stone. And also, they're more likely to reward you with a piece of jewelry rather than a non-set armor piece. The Mistress of Pestilence health has been reduced by 11%. Several Mistress skills now have slightly longer cooldowns. Spores in the Mistress of Pestilence encounter now spawn half as frequently. Reflective spores now only return 10% of player damage rather than 20%. Ravena's newborn health has been reduced by 20%. Some fixes have been made which will alter the way Zoluga's encounter plays out. Zoluga's max morale has been reduced by about 17%. Fix a problem in the way Zoluga was summoning spores. Casters, fighters, and defenders Bane summon spores each now have a minus 60% morale. Bane debuffs applied by spores are now significantly shorter but slightly more potent. Bane debuffs will now run a check against the player disease resistance every 10 seconds, and a single effect will be removed if the player passes that check. And also fix Zoluga's color phase-based skills and effects. Finally, Istrom's fungal crawlers now deal slightly less damage. And that is the list of updates for update 42.4.
You mentioned Scumfell, and that was the first place that I entered Lord of the Rings, and I was like, thank goodness video games haven't pursued perfecting smell as part of the experience.
Oh, yeah. Now, that was update 42.4, but we also had a Bulwerer update where we had our first preview of update 43, The Secrets of Utug Burr. And in there, we had Regional Thane say, welcome to update 43, The Secrets of Utug Burr. And in there, they had the 12 player raid that was expected and all that stuff, and updates to the elf and high elf animations. There are also a number of changes to the Moria content as well. Now, in there, they had the first 2 wings of the 3 wings. There are 3 wings in the new raid. They had the first 2 wings available for testing. I suspect that Krister did not have time in which to test that or anything like that.
No.
Right.
I'm hoping I have time soon.
Right. We'll see about that. Anyway,
yeah,
so they had the first round of testing in there, and I'm assuming that players have been giving plenty of feedback on what was happening in the raid. And perhaps we'll have a chance to test out the final wing next week, or maybe the week after that. We'll have to see. Also in this update, there is a deed log refresh. And this is an extensive refresh of the appearance and functionality of the deed log. I did take a look at this. It looks prettier, but
did it load faster, or?
Well, the idea there was to make it look prettier, stuff like this, and make it look more modern, all this stuff. But even though it looks pretty, it looks like it's not quite as functional. It's a little bit harder to get to some points in the deed log. So they got quite a little feedback of that nature in the forums, of course. So we'll see if they make any tweaks or changes to that or whatever on there. So they had the first round of the D-Log refresh, and we'll see what goes on in there. And let's see. Now, they talked about Moria updates to content and rewards. I suspect that a lot of these that are in there were actually things that were in update 42.4. The thing is that update 43 beta 1 came out a day before update. I mean the Bulwer update 43 beta came out a day before update 42.4. So as a result of that, the release notes all for the beta also included the updates, the 42.4 stuff. So people are saying, well, it looks like you changed this, but it's not in the release notes. So they put all those release notes into there also, even though, of course, the next day later you saw that all those things popped up on live. So there quite a lot of stuff of that's mentioned in the release notes. There were actually for 442.4, but this is what I did notice in here for a quick summary of, since I'm not going to go through all the changes that were in the Bulbara build, since, well, we'll be reading through all those when it's released anyway. But one of the things I noticed in there is that they will have new heritage options for the race of man when you're creating a new character, so that you could have a character from Umbar, for example, now instead of one of the other locations if you wished. Now, just in case you're saying, but wait a minute, I have this character that I've had for years, and I want my character to be from Umbar. What are you going to do about that? Well, in that case, what they've decided to do was that some of the notaries, meaning the ones at their home locations, for example, where hobbits will be in the Shire, for example, where you could go to a notary and change your heritage title that you have there. So, for example, when you made your character a Falahide, but now you say, I really think my character's a Stewart, not a Falahide. Now you could go to the notary in Mickle Delving not now, it's when the update comes out, and you'll be able to change your heritage title to one of the other ones, so that you can now be a Stewart instead of a Falahide, if that's what your preference now is. So you can change that. So said, it means going to the notary. The notary will give you a quest, and when you take the quest, and when you finish the quest, then you'll have the new title.
Okay.
And I think the main reason why they added that was because you had these new options available now, and, well, what about those people who never had a chance to do that? So now it gives them an opportunity. Yeah?
Did you see where it says, due to popular demand, the ladder up to Ashigir and Urishtar no longer has a quest requirement on it, so you can now use it whenever you like?
That was, in fact, the next thing I was going to read out.
Ah! Sorry, I'm just reading through these and I'm like, oh man, we worked so hard and now it's just available.
Yeah. Now there'll be yes. There was quite a lot of demand for that, a lot of complaints about that ladder, because that ladder,
I
in order
can
to be
see
available,
why.
you had to do a lot of quests in
You
order
had
to
to do
unlock that one.
all the quests to unlock that one.
All the quests that would probably take you there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if Pileaf's not reading all these out loud, but it's definitely worth a read for yourself, because you get these treats like the barrels in the Hypebuild Armory no longer try to kill players. And further down, I think this one is my... Okay.
I wanted to get through my quick summary before you read off your highlights.
Okay,
right.
I'll let you finish your summary. And then I'll read my other
Okay. Next is, yes, they are adding task force to Southern Mirkwood and Lothlorien.
Hallelujah.
Yes, finally. And on top of that, reputation is being added to several task forces that currently do not have any reputation. So essentially, if there's reputation in the area where the task force is located, it looks like it will now have reputation to it. So that means, for example, Eastern Rohan, which was notorious for not having any reputation on there, despite the fact how important reputation is in Eastern Rohan in there, none of their task force had reputation on there. Well, that's being changed. I'd see what they're going to have to do with that, because Eastern Rohan is also notorious for having different... Well, that's right. I think it's for whichever zone you're in. So if you're in the Wold, it will give Wold. It would give Wold reputation. If you're in the Suit Cross, it will give Suit Cross reputation, for example.
That'd be helpful.
Yes. And finally, at least on my short list before Cinders adds hers, as enemies in all missions will now drop trophy items. Thank you. It's really annoying that no trophy items are being dropped in the Ecorbend Valley missions.
That would be very irritating.
Yes. In any case, so now, sorry to have cut you off earlier. So which ones are now your favorites?
Well, so I'm just kind of scrolling through and just This caught my eye. 2 NPCs in Galtref Dunland who were kicking the air for no reason are now instead having a conversation.
Rather than an argument, yes.
Well, I just am thinking about how many NPCs there are that look like they're in the middle of like something went wrong and they're just like pounding their fists and they're kicking their feet. And out of all of them, they fixed 2. Yeah, there are a few of them throughout the world that look like they're like mid dance or something, or just had a bad day and they're stomping around, fighting their inner demons. Ooh, this one is really good. This would have been nice like 2 years ago. The rare monsters inside Sarnor will now respawn 1 hour after they have been defeated.
Oh boy! You can say I think what it used to be like saying like 6 hours or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, so you could go in there to get them and not be able to find them for hours and hours and hours. So, yeah, that'll make getting that deed easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the things that I would suggest reading for. Those silly things like the marsh mud that slows you in southern Mirkwood was unintentionally giving you a bonus to your evasion, which doesn't really make sense. So now it won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you can get sneezing effects now if you do /sneeze on elves and high elves. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever used /sneeze.
It's too bad you can't combine it to like dramatic defeat sneeze?
That would be funny. Or you sneeze and then are dramatically defeated. I sneezed too hard. I'm dead.
Oops. Anyway, that's it for my reading of the Borrower release. As I said, that was just the highlights of it. When the actual release comes out, I will go more into depth in all of these things.
Oh, I mean, yay.
Do either of you have anything else you want to add before we head on to our next item?
I don't think so. I don't
think so either.
Definitely read through it for some funny stuff.
Then let's go into the next big thing. Yes, there is more, and that is that we have the article on the FAQ and all that stuff for the new 64-bit servers. The new 64-bit servers are coming soon. Learn more about our server plans, including answers to your frequently asked questions about kinships, housing, transfers, and name. Note that they are not ready to announce a release date for the transfers to the new game world, but they will share this information with us as soon as possible to assist in your preparations. So yeah, sorry, the date is not yet known, but I suspect it's going to be sometime in the middle of the month. We'll find out. Now, one of the things that they did note that currently the planned date for going to the next season of the Legendary Item Track is February 19th, I believe. They have announced that if the transfers do not happen before then, they will delay the changing of the legendary season because they do not want the season to start, us all start getting our new things on the track, and then we transfer our characters and all the progress we made goes poof.
That's kind of them.
Yes. So therefore, if it happens before the 19th and most people are transferred over before then they will be at the expected time, but they will push it back if necessary. So now let's go into the article here. The Lord of the Rings Online is excited to announce 4 new 64-bit servers and will make their debut sometime this month. 2 of these servers are based in the United States and 2 of these are based in Europe. With the inclusion of our existing 64 VIP access servers called Angmar and Mordor, we will now have 6 64-bit worlds to give you the fastest and best in-game experience possible. They are really hyping this. We intend to keep our existing 32-bit worlds open into the future, but we hope and expect many players will want to transfer to these new worlds. So, we are announcing a free transfer plan to allow players on 32-bit North American worlds to transfer to our 64-bit North American worlds, and players on our 32-bit European worlds to transfer to our new 64-bit European worlds. So here are the details. First off, starting on date A, VIP subscribers will be able to log into the game world to access the character creation screen on their destination world and secure up to 3 names per 64-bit world of their choice. VIPs will not be able to log into the game world to play or be able to transfer their existing characters, but they can create characters with their desired names and then later rename their transferred character to their preferred name after deleting the placeholder characters. In fact, this is one of the reasons that I think they have those 5 extra character slots, is that if you created these 3 new characters as placeholders and then transferred all of your characters of one of your servers over, and that you're build up all the ones that you own in there and transfer them over, oops, you'll be overflowing by 3 in that. So they're giving you 5 extras and helps to alleviate that from being a problem. Of course, if you transfer 2 servers into the same server, you may run into troubles otherwise, but that way you won't have troubles in the single server scenario. Now, starting on date B, which is probably going to be the day after date A, free transfers from
What? Sorry.
free transfers from 32-bit to 64-bit worlds will be available to all players. The new game worlds themselves will remain closed, but the transfer tool will be enabled to allow transfers to these worlds. Then, starting on date C, which is probably going to be a day or two after date B,
No
our
way.
new game world.
I'm sorry. Keep going. Keep going.
Our new game worlds are open. Free transfers from 32-bit to 64-bit game worlds will continue through August 31st, 2025. Free transfers between new 64-bit worlds will operate on a rotating weekly basis and continue through some to be determined date. But we expect transfers between 64-bit worlds will close well before August 31st. And finally, starting on date D, which is probably going to be a couple of weeks after date C, we are working to allow for free transfers from many previously closed game worlds to these new 64-bit worlds. We will have more information on the timing for these closed world transfers in the future. We will likely open transfers to a few game worlds at a time over a period of time and leave transfers from these worlds open until the later announced date. After this final transfer period, these previously closed worlds will be permanently closed and no future character transfers will be possible. In other words, after the period at which these closed worlds are open for transfers off of them, they're going to completely shut down those servers forever. So this will be your last chance to get your characters off of those silent worlds if you need to. Now, they do have at the end of the document in the FAQ section a question of when will the dark worlds be open for transfers, and they have a little bit more details than they had in what we just said there. The transfers from the dark worlds is currently scheduled for, okay, they don't have the date yet, but these will be open in a cadence of one per day until all dark worlds are open. The opening order will be, and then they give the list from Daryl Delph, Anduin, Elendilmir, Firefoot, Eldar, Estelle, Imladris, Gilrain, Meneldor, Maiar, Nimradel, Morthun, Rittermark, Snowborn, Silverlode, Vanyar, Vilya, Withywindle, and finally Windfola. And right, so in other words, they'll just open one server a day for that time period. All right, any questions so far, or shall I continue?
No questions so far.
Please continue.
All right, there we go. Well, what do you need to know about these new 64-bit worlds? Well, okay, let me double check if there's anything in the chat before I continue on there. Okay, 6 times 6 is 240. Oh, I have to delete a lot after I've transferred. That's Sam, of course, who has those 60 characters.
Sam's glad he transferred before they went to Dark Worlds.
Yeah, that's probably one of the sources of all those characters that he has. uh, is I transferred them all off on there. Now I know that I transferred everybody off of Winfola, but for some of the other Dark Worlds where I played infrequently, I have a few characters there, but I think most of those are just extra characters of Pine Leaf, so it's probably not going to bother with that.
You're not just gonna like get on when they open and merge all your pine leaves. Pine leaf dash 25.
Dash 25.
Oh, if he had 9 pine leaves, though, he could have a pine leaf that's 7 and 9.
Good.
Is that too? Okay, I'm sorry.
If he
Am
had
I a nerd?
11 pine leaves, he could have his own football team.
Whoa. If he had 1,374,717 pine leaves, he could stretch from Middle Earth to the sun.
Sorry, we're definitely not taking this as seriously as it probably.
I'm sorry. Yes,
requires.
I'm sorry about that.
Definitely lacking in gravitas here.
Very definitely lacking that, yes. What do you need to know about these 64-bit worlds? We are opening 2 regular game worlds and 2 role-playing focus worlds in North America and Europe. The worlds are Galavdring, which is in North America, Peregrine, which is the North America RP world, Orcrist, which is the Europe world, and Meriadoc, which is the Europe RP world. Our role-play designated worlds are meant to give guidance to fellow role players as they consider their destination world. We do not enforce role play appropriate naming nor require players on the server to role play. Anyone can play on these worlds similar to how things are now on Lantropol and Laurelin. These new 64-bit worlds are in addition to our existing 64-bit legendary worlds Angmar and Mordor, which remain VIP only worlds. Angmar and Mordor are special Veil of the Nine Worlds where transfers to the world are not enabled and players start fresh with new characters. You can read more about Angmar and Mordor on LOTRO.com. And there is a link there. So what do you need to know about character transfers? You will transfer your character through the game launcher. After entering your username and password, you will see a transfer button on the launcher that will be right under the play button. So most likely you have noticed it there in the past, even if you've never pressed it. Well, in this case, you are going to need to press it to select which character from which game world you want to transfer from, which world you want to transfer to, and decide whether or not you are including shared, stored items in your transfer. The transfer will take just a few minutes. You cannot be logged into the character while attempting to do a transfer. Shared item transfer remains available even if all characters have moved off the world. So on there you just hit the transfer button and it will give you another screen on there. If you have more items in shared storage, escrow, shared housing storage, or other forms of storage, then you have available to interact with due to account limits, everything will transfer over and the relevant storage will be on a withdrawal only state until you get below your available limit. In preparation for the introduction, that's right. We already talked about the extra character slots we were given.
Yeah, I think Sin just mentioned it right before you were going to, if I recall correctly.
Probably.
No, actually, no. The name thing is something that we were the extra 5 character slots. We talked. That was the first thing we talked about.
Yes, he's teasing me,
Way.
Pine Leaf.
I was trying to. Yes, I was attempting to be difficult.
All right.
Digimon or Pokemon Pine Leaf?
Yeah. That's if he merged 2 Pine Leaves.
Will they evolve into a later iteration of Pine Leaf? Okay, so we're gonna have to come up. Okay, so while Pine Leaf keeps reading, I'm gonna see if I can come up with some variations.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what about names? Speaking of Pine Leaves and the like, if another character exists on your destination game world with the same name as your character's name will be appended with a -1. If a character -1 already exists, then your name will be appended to -2, -3, and you're really in trouble is if you get up to -5000, I guess. In the case that your character's name was taken and given a number suffix, Once inside the game worlds, you can change your name one time for free by typing the command /change name and your new name and pressing enter. You can select any name within your code of conduct that is not already being used by another character or on your game world. Most storage and wallet items will overflow if needed, which means that you will not be able to add additional items to that form of storage until the total is reduced below your limit. However, the following items will not overflow from your wallet, meaning there's a hard cap on those, and just make sure that you don't go over it because boop, you will lose stuff if you merge two servers, the shared storage for these two servers, and these items are adding up more than the cap. One of those are Embers of Enchantment, Motes of Enchantment, Figments of Splendor, and Monster Play Commendations. And you will need to spend below your destination server wallet cap prior to transfer if you do not wish to lose any of these currencies.
I have an answer whenever you're ready. So tell me when I can interject with it.
Okay, what's your answer?
Okay, so I asked ChatGPT, if I had a Pokemon named Pineleaf, what would later iterations be? This is the response that I got. That's a cool name. If you have a Pokemon named Pineleaf, it sounds like a nature-inspired, leafy or forest-themed creature. For later evolutions, you could continue that theme, gradually increasing its power and sophistication. Here's an idea for a progression. 1. Pineleaf, base form. Type, grass. A small forest Pokemon with pinecone-like features. It could have a playful, gentle nature and maybe some light leaf-based abilities. 2. Pine Bloom, first evolution. Type, grass/fairy. As Pineleaf evolves, it becomes more elegant and blooms into a graceful form with flowers or petals forming around its body, symbolizing growth. Its abilities could focus on healing or boosting the growth of plants. 3. Pine Ridge, final evolution. Type, grass/dragon. A majestic, towering Pokemon with pine tree-like armor and dragon-like wings or features. It could be the guardian of forests with power over both nature and weather, like controlling storms or summoning rain to nourish plants.
Pine Ridge, which is rather strange because a lot of my Minecraft worlds, that's the name I give the town that I do my building in.
Okay.
Well,
Anyhow.
that was nice of ChatGPT to do that, but here's my list. Here's my progression list. We go from Pine Leaf to Pine Loaf to Pine Pong to Pine Salmon Pine to Pineapple to Pine Bot and finally Pinestein. AI's got a long way to go before it can get me here. So.
Listen, I just appreciate the description. Sam says, ooh, Pineleaf should use this for cosmetic outfit inspirations.
And he also talked about, I wish that Ancient Script was one of those that allowed overflow during... Actually, Ancient Script, well, the 4 that I read were the only 4 that will not allow overflow. All the rest of them will allow overflow. And in fact, there's already a means of handling overflow for Ancient Script, because whenever you analyze an old weapon, yes, if you analyze an old weapon and it pushes you over the limit, you will be able to get that in there, and you can be able to use that script and go in that, because it does allow you to overflow with that. That's the only thing that allows you to overflow.
Good. Yeah, that's good. There was never more of an irritating feeling than realizing you're like, destroy. Hey, wait, when did I reach cap? Did I reach cap?
Yeah. Right.
Now, what I think they really missed, so they really, what is the thing that we keep getting that I keep not having enough space for? Is it Shigani Gin?
Oh, well, that's definitely...
that either should be allowed to overflow, or they should have just increased the level on that, because with the amount of things that give you that, like, you're going to go over cap. Like, yeah, I've just been losing it because I'm not spending it anyway.
It's not like there...
It's not lots of great
like
options.
this. There's not all that much you could get from Shigani Gin.
I know, but I have over 700 of them.
Yes. This is why I have plenty of those charcoal reading kits is because I have all those charcoal reading kits is because okay, what can I do again? Oh, okay, I'll just spend it on more charcoal reading kits.
Right?
What happens when you use a charcoal reading kit? You get more again.
Right?
Oh well.
It's a never ending problem.
Let's head back to our article here. The temporary free transfers between new 64-bit worlds. We will temporarily offer free transfers between the new 64 US worlds and between the EU 64-bit worlds on a weekly rotating basis. This will allow players who accidentally find themselves in the wrong world or who end up wanting instead to join a group on a different world the opportunity to transfer their characters to their final destination world. Each week, Wednesday until the next Wednesday downtime, we will alternate between the ability to transfer between the roleplay servers and the regular worlds. Thus, in week 1, we'll have free transfer between Peregrine to Glamdrine and from Meriadoc to Orcrist. Then in week 2, we have free transfers from Glamdrine to Peregrine and from Orcrist to Meriadoc. And no, you will not be able to cross the US Europe streams because that's an ongoing problem that is probably never going to be solved. All right, now comes the important bit. What do I need to know about kinship transfers if I am a kin leader? Well, whatever. First thing you should know is that do not disband your kinship. Well, that is, of course, unless you really want to disband your kinship and never. I mean, this is, of course, assuming that you want to have that kinship survive into the new world. Do not disband your kinship. Kinship leaders must abandon or sell their kinship house before they can transfer. Kinship leaders should sell their premium kinship houses in order to have 100% of the writ cost of the kinship house returned to them. The writs will be returned to you as an item in your inventory.
So you also need inventory space.
Well, yeah, that's another fun bit. I'm assuming that those other 2 character slots you're getting are going to be for mule characters.
Makes good sense.
Yeah.
Because
You gotta do something.
Yeah. Kinship leaders should abandon their classic kinship houses prior to character transfer. To abandon or sell your kinship house, open your character panel by pressing C. Select house, then select the house that you wish to abandon or sell. The only difference between abandon and sell is that players abandon their classic houses and do not get their gold purchase price returned. Please note that kinship leaders abandoning or selling their kinship house prior to transfer is different from normal classic or premium player housing transfers, where you should not abandon your home prior to transfer. In other words, it's different for the kin house because it's not owned by a particular player or anything like that. And I think another reason for it is because a kin house is more likely to have a large amount of stuff that is bound to another character. So in order for everything to get to the proper characters, probably the best thing to do is to sell your kin house. Then all that stuff that's bound to other characters then could get to the right person. So I think that's one of the reasons for the order. Now that does mean, well, what about if you have your personal house has a lot of stuff bound by other characters? In fact, I have 3 items in my Langeable house that are bound to another character because I had hired a decorator some 12 years ago to decorate my house. Yes, I know I haven't changed my house much since then.
You got it right how you liked it. So.
Somehow that does not surprise me, though.
And the reason why I think it's 12 years ago is because I believe that house was done during the as a result of an auction that was held on a casual stroll to Mordor. And well, this is episode 599 of LOTRO Players News, which started right after Casual Stroll to Mordor closed. So yeah, that's about 12 years.
Yeah.
So where were we? Oh yes. So what you do is, if you're the kin leader, if you're a kin leader, you do abandon or sell your house, your kin house, but not your personal house. That's the thing to know about that. Personal houses you should keep, unless of course you're for some other reason wanting to just get rid of that house or something like that. Because there's one personal house I didn't feel like paying maintenance until the transfer time. So I just got rid of it on that server because I didn't want it anymore because I got tired of logging into that server, and I'm never going to replace that house. I don't think that I'm going to have a house that I have to go back into maintenance on a large number of servers because it was just driving me crazy in doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now we have some screenshots that Cordovan put into here showing you the various things into here. His showing helping to show the steps where once you select a house that you're abandoning in there, you type in the street address into there and it'll tell you like, do you please type in to Silver Street to sell this house for 27 premium housing writs. Note houses cannot be recovered once sold. So there you sell this property, you hit sell, and then you get your writs. When transferring a character who is a kinship leader, the game will disband the kinship on the former world and reform the kinship on the new world, complete with all historical data. Players who were in that kinship will be automatically added to the kinship on the new world if they decide to follow the kinship leader and transfer. Please note, the kinship leader should be the first character in the kinship to log into the game world following the transfer. If a kinship member logs into prior to the kinship leader, the member will be removed from the kinship since the new kinship has not yet established in the new game world. Please coordinate with your kinship leaders on the timing of transfers. If you are removed from your kinship leader will simply need to reinvite you to the kinship and set you up with your permissions.
That's helpful.
All right. Bound items in the kinship house will be returned to their owners. Unbound items will be placed into the kinship leader's personal housing storage or escrow depending on the item. Any remaining prepaid credit or unlocked storage in the kinship house will be automatically granted when purchasing a new kinship house on the destination world. And we know that not everyone will be able to get the same house in the same location that they were in their former world, but we will be working to offer as many neighborhoods as possible for the launch of these new worlds. So, what do you need to know about kinship transfers if you're just a kin member and not a kin leader? You do not need to leave your kinship, and you'll automatically be rejoined to your kin after you transfer as long as the kinship leader has logged into your destination game world before your character. Any of the character bound items that you have placed in your kinship house will be returned to you when the kinship house is abandoned in the classic housing or sold premium housing. Any unbound items will be in escrow or personal housing storage of the kinship leader after they purchase the new kinship house. So, what do I need to know about my existing personal housing and transfers? There are few things you need to do other than transfer. The belongings and history of the ownership of your house will go with your character to the destination world. When you log into the destination world, you will have a mail that contains an attachment of currency equal to the purchase cost of your house. All of your items will be in escrow housing storage, and character based items will be returned to their appropriate characters. And this is why, if you have a personal homes, you do not abandon or sell those homes because they will be because they all that information will be brought over to the new world and you'll get the email with all that attachments into there that everything that you want for that. And there'll be an escrow over there so you don't have to worry about putting them into storage or anything like that, which is what you have to do is if you abandon your personal homes before you went in there, because if you abandon your personal homes, well, okay, we'll go into escrow, I guess. So maybe it won't be all that bad on that matter. I did test a thing on Bulwark, which is an incomplete thing, but I did notice that the housing storage, at least on Bulwark, did come across. Now, you will need to purchase a new premium home with the writs that you receive if you wish. Housing storage upgrades persist with your new home when you have a new housing chest. Players should consider putting hooked items into character storage and removing anything from their small premium per house storage chest prior to transfer if they plan to move only a few characters and that they wish to leave certain decorations behind for the characters that are remaining on the existing server. If you're moving all of your homeowners, remember to transfer the account bound storage from your former server to get your decorations available on the new world. Players should also remove items from shared housing storage that are bound to character that they do not intend to transfer, or remove items bound to characters that they do not intend to transfer if they do not intend to transfer their shared items storage at this time. So yes, if you're doing a half a move, things get a little bit more complicated. For non premium houses, storage capacity will be preserved and applied to the house that you decide to purchase on your destination world. When you purchase your new home, it will be a fresh with upkeep, ownership time, and grace period time, just like any newly purchased non premium house. Did you get all that?
No, but there's a reason we link the notes. If you too struggled to keep track of all of that, please feel free to refer back to it. I'm sorry, Sam. That was probably me yawning. My bad.
And anyway, so you can see that, yeah, it's a bit complicated. Now, if you're transferring all your characters into shared storage, or at least all your homeowners, then it's a lot easier. Just don't sell your house, because that way you'll get 100% refund so that you can purchase a new house on the new game world. And if you sold your house, you only get partial credit, and you're going to have to carry all those items with you. So yeah, it's a lot better not to sell the house, unless, of course, you're wanting to get rid of the house. So this is the recommended transfer order. To make the process go as smoothly as possible, we recommend transferring characters to destination worlds in the following order. First off, kinship leaders. Make sure you do the kinship leaders first, because you want those kinship leaders to be there and logged in before you get all those other characters, so that you won't have any mix-ups whatsoever relating to how the transfer operates, and that because you want to make sure that the kin is set up before anyone else comes in. Second, homeowners. So you'll have a house, so that when the non-homeowners come in, they will be able to have a house in which to link up with. Then shared items, and finally, any other characters. That is the recommended order: kinship leaders, homeowners, shared items, and other characters. Now, if you are just transferring everything on the server across, that's fine. Then I recommend to then at least log in that order on the new world, so that things will go as smoothly as possible. Please note, in-game mail is not transferred. Make sure that you detached all mail items that you wish to keep prior to transfer. Any items or messages lost during the transfer process will not be restored by customer support. So do not leave stuff in your mailbox unless you're intending just to lose it anyway. I know some people use the mail system as storage, but it's not what it was intended for. So
Wait,
make
you
sure
can do
that
that?
Uh-oh.
Oh, you didn't know that some people mail stuff to their alts
Well, I do, but
and
if you
just
don't get
leave it there? But
and then it
it's
comes
just that
back to you,
it comes back to you if it expires. Yes.
and then you have to do it again.
Yes,
But it's later.
Okay, valid.
And future you screams at you whenever you do that.
See, that's a problem for future me. Okay, I have
Yeah.
definitely done that though, so I just didn't realize people did that perpetually on purpose.
Yes, there are some people who actually do that on purpose, and
Okay.
they're
well,
just making that if you have them sitting in your mailbox uncollected, they are going to be lost, and customer support is not going to help you in that sense. You're doing something that's not intended. So it's not something that Sandstone Games,
that's a
it
case of
penalizes
play
you for
stupid
exploiting,
games with
but
stupid prizes.
yes.
Is
Yes.
what you're saying.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay. Very well. Then Any auctions underway will be lost, so complete your auctions and get your stuff prior to transferring. Your progress in the Legendary Items reward track will not come with you to your destination world. Please claim your reward track rewards prior to undergoing your character transfer. And as I said before, they are going to try to have the next season start after the start of the transfer period so that you won't have a scenario where you just started out, you reached level 25 in the new season, and then suddenly the transfer period opens up and going up and you're going across over there. And finally, your friends and your ignore list will not be preserved because this is a new server, and your friends and ignore list is based on whoever was on the old world, and that could be completely different in the new world. So yeah, your friends and ignore list will not be preserved. Will not be preserved, especially consider well, some of the characters are going to have different names, so
It
these
makes
names that you
sense. I'm just going,
yeah.
that's a lot. So I'm gonna have to make a list of my friends
Yes.
before I transfer so that I know who I'm looking for.
Yeah. And we'll just have to hope that anyone on our ignore list won't be transferring to the same world we are.
I don't know that I have anybody on an ignore
Yeah.
list.
I think I might have one or two, but usually I think after about a month or so, they completely. I think they completely disappear anyway, or the reason we're putting on there is probably no longer relevant, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Also, a note about player versus player monster player transfers. Monster player play characters will be able to transfer for free to these new 64-bit worlds. I think at one point they were thinking that would not be possible, but it will be possible. And player versus monster player gameplay will be enabled in these new worlds. I think they'll have to they have some means where you have to select, okay, you transfer to spiders from two different servers. Okay, which one do you want to use? So they'll have a selector for that particular one.
Yeah. Let's say I was thinking, oh, I need to bring my warg over from Arkenstone to Landreval, and then that way I can just move everything from Landreval over. Because I am not leaving Zablob behind.
Oh, of course. All right. Now, that is the main article, but there is also an FAQ in here. And first question is, what are the new 64-bit servers and why are they being introduced? 64-bit servers offer many technology advances compared to prior 32-bit servers, including the ability to better manage resources and offer the smoothest gameplay possible experience to our community. These servers operate on modern technological standards and position the game for success and growth long into the future. I suspect that along with these 64-bit servers, there's also probably going to be probably new hardware and stuff like that along with it.
Full overhaul.
So I have a feeling because they're adding new servers in there instead of just replacing the old ones. So I suspect that there are other upgrades in addition to having the 64-bit client or I should say 64-bit server in there. And we already talked about the server options earlier of the regular servers versus role player servers. Are role play servers restrict lore appropriate character names? And the answer is nope. they 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 would like people to encourage people to do so and to make sure they respect our peers in there, but they are not going to have strong enforcement of the names, especially when they're down to two servers on each side of the pond. Will EU servers? Yeah. Will EU servers have language-specific chat channels? We are working to create separate French and German world chat channels for Orcrist and Meriadoc. We also have a new LOTRO Discord featuring French and German communications in addition to French and German language support and our website and forums. Click here to join the Lord of the Rings Forum official Discord. Well, okay, they'll have that link when the Discord opens up. But the idea on there is that they're going to try to see if they could get some chat channels up for French and German. If that does not happen, they might just set up a user-defined set. In other words, the devs will get in there, create a user-defined set of channels in there. And if that somehow doesn't work out, well, I am sure the players will take about 10 minutes before those things come into existence anyway.
Players are resourceful like that.
Yeah, they've been known to do. They usually come in there, and and I suspect that they'll probably have some sort of message on the forums or something like that. Or I think it's going to get out very quickly. It'll probably move at the speed of rumor once those things do get set up.
Mhm. Faster than a forest fire.
Yeah. And will EU servers have language specific chat? Oh, no, we already talked about that. Will 32-bit game roles be closing? At this time, we do not intend to close our 32-bit game roles. Eventually, we would like players to experience the game on our 64-bit game worlds, but as long as the populations of our 32-bit game worlds remain healthy, we intend to keep those worlds open. It says, and I got the impression that starting around September, they are going to do a check to see how healthy those game rules are. In other words, right at the time where the free transfer period is ending, that they'll be doing their first check to see, okay, what worlds are healthy and which ones are struggling, shall we say. Are these new game worlds legendary servers? No, these are regular game worlds and will have the same level cap and content available as the rest of the game worlds. Will player versus monster player gameplay be available in the new worlds? Yes, PvMP will be fully available on Glamdring, Orchrist, Peregrine, and Meriadoc. Will the legendary worlds Veil of the Nine mechanic be available on these new worlds? No, the ring race battle and other aspects of Veil of the Nine are limited to Angmar and Mordor. Thank goodness. Questions relating to character transfers and name reservations. Can I transfer characters between regions, North America and EU? Unfortunately, transfers between North America and EU servers are not currently possible due to technological issues. Players on existing 32-bit EU worlds can transfer to Orchrist and Meriadoc, and those on 32-bit NA worlds can transfer to Glamdring and Peregrine. Okay, so a lot of these questions are making the assumption that some people are going to say too long, didn't read, and who just skipped to the question that they wanted to ask.
That would be me.
And yeah, will character transfers onto new 64-bit servers be free? And yes, all character transfers onto the new 64-bit servers will be free through August 31st, 2025. What is the transfer process timeline for that? I already went through all of that earlier, but in other words, I gave you date A, date B, date C, and all that stuff. So they repeat that here just in case you missed it at the earlier part. Can I transfer characters for free between Glamdring and Peregrine or between Orchrist and Meriadoc? Yes, we will temporarily offer free transfers between the new 64-bit worlds. I told you had this world where they're going to alternate weeks, where they go one direction in 1 week, between RP to non-RP 1 week, and then the following week it'll be from the non-RP to RP. They don't want to have them open at the same time because it could create potential troubles that could break the system if they had both directions open at the same time. Will I have to transfer characters one at a time? It is possible to select all characters on a server during transfer. Thank goodness. And yeah, because if they didn't, it would be a great deal of trouble, right? If it was select all, if they didn't have a select all there, could you just imagine Sam going there? Okay, let's go. 1, 2,
No,
2.
I can't imagine it because they're driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Also, Sam has a comment. As the new North America 64-bit servers will be in Las Vegas, will Pineleaf play on the one-armed bandits or play blackjack?
Hunting's going to take all of his Lothlorien leaves. Red 16.
Hey, wait. Hey, this.
Pineleaf's like, I don't even know how to answer that question. Let's move this along.
Yes, there are actually casinos in the state I live in, so why would I need to go to Vegas for that?
I mean, who actually needs to go to Vegas?
Well, you got a point there.
I say people go to Vegas just to go to Vegas.
Well, yes, I guess that's sort of the whole thing.
I say if I want traffic in casinos, like I could go to Seattle.
That's true.
Like
You have a lot of
you don't have to
there's
go
some
that
casinos
far.
up here.
Seattle is the gambling city in your state.
Well, we got a lot of up and down the Western Washington. You got a lot of casinos.
I'm gonna say you have them on the eastern side too. They're just not in. They're not big. They're not big cities in the same way.
Right. Okay. What happens to my character during transfer? Okay, that's what we already talked about character names in it, so they just repeat the whole thing about the character names in there. What account information on my former game world will transfer to my destination world? Then account properties that are transferred are destiny points, right? Shared storage, housing storage. There's an asterisk on this. Housing storage underwent significant changes in 2014, and characters that have not logged in since 2014 may lose their housing storage items connected to that character. Logging into the relevant character prior to transferring will resolve this issue. Also, wardrobe and shared currency. Now, the funny thing about wardrobe is the wardrobe is more like copied to the new server, not transferred. And let's say that Druid's Fire is noted for mentioning that every once in a while. And there is that is that wardrobe tends to send a copy over instead.
Because wardrobe can literally just be copies of stuff you don't even have anymore.
Right, yeah. And shared currency. All accounts shared paper items, including mithril and skirmish marks. But there is a double asterisk on this one. There is an unlikely edge case here. If a wallet currency item used to be character bound rather than account bound, and you have not logged into your character since the currency was changed, any amount that you have banked will remain with your character and will not be transferred unless you also transfer that character. Logging into a character prior to transferring them will resolve this issue. So in other words, if you have some sort of special currency that used to take up inventory space and that character has not been logged into since they did that, since they made the change in there, yeah, you still have that in your inventory. But you won't lose it. Of course, if you haven't logged into that character in the last 10 years, you probably don't even know that they have it. Will shared storage transfer with characters? Yes, you will have your option to transfer shared storage alongside with your characters. You can also transfer shared storage separately. And most likely reason to do it separately will be if for some reason you're splitting what you're doing with the server. In other words, with characters, some staying, some going to one server and some going to the other server. And for me, well, I'm more likely to consolidate the destination rather than the source in there. So I do remember in the original one when we had this all go through this about however many years ago, I guess 10 years ago, when we did this 10 years ago for the Dark Worlds in there, most of my Winfola characters were transferred to Crick Hollow, but I transferred my burglar to Langerville instead. I can't remember the reason why in there, but it was, I guess maybe I didn't have a burglar on Langerville at the time, so I decided to send my burglar over to Langerville. So yeah, so that was a split case in there. So I had to make sure that I didn't say do all. I probably transferred my burglar first and then did it all for the rest of the characters. Or the other possibility is that they had an open free transfer period afterwards, and I might have just gone from Winfield to Langeville during that free period if that was a possibility. Can I transfer for free from Treebeard to another game world? Yes. This is a surprise in there because we were expecting this to be a no. Yes, free transfers from Treebeard will be available through August 31st, 2025. They are decided to treat it as a 32-bit world instead of as a legendary world for the purposes of this. If we decide to end the Treebeard experience after that point in time, we will offer free transfers again from that game world. So they just want to say that, oh yes, you will get your free transfer period up to August 31st. And when Treebeard comes to the end of its lifetime, it will, of course, once again be open for free transfers. You're not going to be locked out of free transfers just because you decide to remain on Treebeard. But they do notice that there are some people who don't play on Treebeard anymore and decided, all right, we'll give them a chance to move their characters to the regular worlds if that's what they would prefer. Does the progress that I have made on my legendary items reward track carry over to my new world? And of course, we answered that earlier. We said no. What happens in my in-game mail On my former game world, in-game mail items need to be detached and stored on your character or other form of storage prior to transfer. Mail is not preserved between transfers, and any in-game mail for your character is lost forever on your former world following transfer, and customer service is not going to help you on this.
In case you guys aren't clear, customer service is not going to help you out of it.
Yes.
One more time for the people in the back. Customer service is not going to help.
That's the fundamental truth of customer service.
Ooh.
They will
I'm in it.
probably listen sympathetically or listen empathetically and then say, I'm sorry,
Nope.
there's nothing I can do.
Yes. All right. Housing and shared storage. What do I need to do with my personal premium or housing storage prior to transfer? I think I actually went through this pretty much on there
You
already.
did. It's
Yeah. So I'm not gonna go through that all over again. If
it does become redundant.
yes. Next question. Next question. What if somebody already buys my space? Housing neighborhoods will be expanded as needed, but we cannot guarantee players will keep their exact same addresses. Housing items are returned and housing rates are refunded as part of the transfer process, as we explained earlier on this, but they are not guaranteeing that you're going to have the exact same spot, unless, of course, you happen to have your home at a place that very few people really go after or something like that.
Hey, maybe if you own your entire neighborhood, it will actually let you keep it.
I suspect that's not going to happen.
I'm like, if you're the first person who gets your
Oh,
characters in from that neighborhood, like, I don't know.
Well, the
Maybe.
problem is that you have to buy all those houses before anyone else gets to that housing broker and buys a house from that neighborhood.
Right?
So
the early purchaser gets the neighborhood, huh?
Yeah, I have a feeling I don't know if there is some sort of way to tell, all right, which neighborhoods will go fastest and which ones will go slowest. If there's a way to pick the perfect one that's least likely to have people cherry picking from that neighborhood before you've gotten everything.
You scroll to the bottom of the list.
Sometimes the bottom of the list might be
worse than the top.
Well, yeah, maybe not worse than the top, but I have a feeling it's probably after the top, maybe a couple of them on the bottom also. I suspect it'll be in the middle somewhere. But where in the middle, I don't know. Is there a
number
limit?
Generator.
Yes, random number generator. Yes. Is there a limit to the amount of items that will be put in escrow housing storage when I transfer over? No, there is no limit to the amount of items that can be put into escrow housing storage. Is there a time limit? No, there is no time limit for the escrow housing storage. And what are the closed game? Then they also talk about the closed game rules and they give the list. And I gave you the list already earlier of the order in which they plan to do it. And right now they're thinking of doing it in opening each one of those one day at a time. And that is our information on the new 64-bit world servers and our FAQ. Now, does anyone have any questions?
If you do, may I refer you back to the frequently asked questions section linked in the episode show notes.
Yeah. Now, Sam was noting that things are alphabetical. They're alphabetical, but also interleaved. It looks like they're alternating between U.S. and EU. There are a couple of times where they have a couple in a row, but for example, the first one it's not in strict alphabetical order by the name of the server, because they're doing Dardwell before Undoing, and when Fola is last instead of Willy Windle, so it's not perfectly in alphabetical order, but it's pretty close to alphabetical order, yes. And that is it for the new 64-bit server. Anyone have any questions before I continue?
I just had a statement. Hooray!
Okay. Hey, well then. Oh, yeah, yes. The list of the alpha. Okay, that's what Sam was talking. Sam was talking about the housing neighborhoods. That's right. In there, yes, that's right. The default order which they show things are in alphabetical order for the names of the neighborhoods. So yeah, some people might just be going to their favorite letter or something like
Let's
that
say, see, I
for the name.
can't. I can't go to my favorite letter. They don't have any that start with K.
Oh, they don't have any that start with K.
Not as
Well,
far as I know. So I've had to pick other letters, but none are as good.
none are as. I'm surprised that they don't have any that start with K. Let's
I don't
see.
think they do.
A is the loneliest letter.
And so let's be honest, there aren't that many words that start with K.
Well, you have a point
Kill.
with that.
Kick.
Okay, yes.
Uh,
How many more can you come up with, Pine Leaf?
Kirkland.
Or not Pine Leaf, Krister.
Pine Leaf.
Pine Leaf does not start with a K.
It's silent.
Silent?
That reminds me of my son's variation on Elrond. Okay, so he had just learned about silent letters, and he decided he wanted to have Elrond. And so he gave, but of course you can't name a character in LOTRO Elrond because of Elrond, right?
Yes.
So he put a P at the beginning of the word and an E at the end of the word. And Sans and I were like, Pelronde? And he's like, it's Elrond. The P and the E are silent.
Perfect. See?
But
That's
P is
clever.
only silent in front of an N, right?
I don't know.
Never.
This is coming from, at the time he was a second grader, right? So we were letting him play alongside us.
Okay.
And he had just learned the concept of silent letters in general. And so that was what he came up with. And that's what that just reminded me of. You're like, the K is silent. Pine Leaf with a K. The K is silent. Okay, sorry.
Oh boy. All right. Then all right. I have no idea if they're there because it could be that all the ones with K are just so popular that there aren't any available at the brokers. Or you're saying you go to the housing neighborhood list for entering and check to make sure to see if there are any Ks in that list.
I don't think there are any Ks in that list.
Okay. Well then, I suppose that sort of kills that hypothesis.
I'm Googling though.
Yes. Let's then see what else we've got in here. And next we have the Discord. I mentioned the Discord earlier in there, and it looks like that the Discord is getting ready to open. I mean that they're really close on the matter, and in fact there was a chance that it would have been open already, but it looks like they had one or two things they still needed to take care of. Now, Cordovan is out for most of the next weeks, but he is at a work conference, so there's a possibility he might be able to get on and check the status. And if the Discord is ready, he might fire it up sometime next week, but I'd say at latest the week after that it will become available. So we'll have a Discord in there where you could go and check for things if you need to. We'll see how that works. It says, Sam says that Breland has Keydale, Knockhouse, and Nutwood.
Okay, so I wouldn't know that because I've never looked at the Breland housing.
Yeah.
I've only ever looked at Hobbit housing and then the housing in Rohan and Belfalis.
Yes.
So there are 3 that start with K. I might have to move to the Breland housing then to use my favorite letter.
Okay. And I don't know about Lindleby. But of course Lindleby is a premium house, so that's an entirely different matter. So I guess you would have checked it already because don't you have a Lindleby house?
I do have a Lindleby house. And I don't believe they have any that start with K. But by that point, I had just kind of given up on it, so I didn't really look.
Yeah, Shire and Fallothorn have none. Yeah, I would expect Fallothorn to have none because Elvish names invariably use a C for that sound. So let's go into our store sales. Cinders, what's on sale this week?
You can be known across the land by getting 15% off of plus 2,000 Virtue Acceleration, plus 5,000 Enhanced Reputation Supply, plus 100% Mark Acquisition Boost now through February 6th. And the weekly coupon is for a free Landscape Soldier token. Coupon code is MARCHON, MARCHON, now through February 6th.
Right. And it looks like that we have a note from Ravi the Eater. And Krister, do you think you could tell us what Ravi has to say?
Yes. But let me get my cursor out of the thing so I don't fill it with text.
When you said that it was like a pause, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
are you gonna actually tell us? Like,
All
we're
right,
glad
so
you can.
Ravi writes, "Hello, dear Lotro players. Ravi the Eater checking in. Sorry to be asking questions, etc., on the week where there's likely a lot of things to go through. You aren't kidding, Ravi, on the podcast. I should have sent it last week, but it just didn't occur to me then. This is about what everyone is buzzing about, server migration and housing. Since you guys have been around for a while, and especially because you probably remember how it went back in the day with the server merges, perhaps someone could answer from lived experience. Let's say I have a character A on Arkenstone and character B on Landroval. They are both house owners in their respective realms. And let's say during the move, I want to place them both on Peregrine. I can only have one house per server. So who of them is going to be the owner? Is it whoever buys the new house first? What happens to the other one's stuff in the escrow? And how high is the chance that something might get scrambled and lost in this situation? Has anyone been in a situation like this? Thanks, and thanks as always for the podcast. Ravi the Eater.
Ravi, this was the perfect week to send that because we were just talking about it. And so the other two who actually have been here long enough to have done server merges can fill you in on what they know. I have never been in that position.
I have only existed upon one server, so I will have to. We will have to rely on pine leaves. Pine leaf. Pine leaves.
Well, all I did was just buy a. I think all I did was go to the new place and just bought a house. I just bought a house there. I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is that you're going to go there. Whoever buys a house is going to be the homeowner, and
But they'll both be able to transfer all their stuff into escrow, though.
Yeah, it's all going to go into escrow. Yeah, but
Yeah.
your stuff is going to go into escrow, and there's not going to be any trouble with escrow because escrow has no relationship to who owns the house. Once something goes into your into your escrow, it is going to stay there until you withdraw it. Well, there might be some stuff that's going to go into your chest if you become the homeowner and buy your stuff, but outside of that, it's going to be staying in escrow indefinitely. So yes, you're not going to lose your stuff. It's just going to go into escrow and stay in escrow. So you can have more than one person having housing escrow as a result of this. In fact, it could pretty much commonly happen because if you have different bound items by your various characters, if you have a bound item in your house, it's going to go to whoever it's bound to. It's not going to go to the homeowner. Unless the homeowner happens, of course, to be the character that's bound to. So I have a couple of things that are bound to other characters of mine, and as I said earlier, there are some things that are bound to a completely different character. So I'm probably just going to, I think I could say return to owner or something like that to remove an item that I want to send in my house. I'll probably do that just to make sure that they get their items back before this whole thing starts. Though I could just imagine they're having these things pop up in their mailbox that says, why am I suddenly getting this furniture? Because 12 years ago, you think they're going to remember?
They might keep records like you do.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
And they'll be like, yes, I remember doing this house.
Yes. All right. And that's as far as I could tell on this. That I do not have a definitive answer, but I am pretty certain that's how it's going to go. Is that those escrows are going to be completely separate. So just because someone buys the house, it's not going to undo whatever you have in escrow. And that's it for there. I think the shared escrow that if you do buy a house and you have shared storage in your house, then I think the stuff in your shared escrow will be dumped into your shared storage there. But it's an interesting question because I guess if you have shared escrow, then I guess those will be merged then. I guess if it's shared, I've never dealt too much with shared escrow before. But thank you for your question, and hopefully things will work out for your characters because I am going to have a few characters that are going to have, let's just say, quite a collision of things because I think I've got well, 3 premium homeowners again. I know I could theoretically buy 3 houses, but I don't think I'm gonna buy 3 houses in the same neighborhood when I do my transfers over. We'll see what happens.
I suppose if all else fails and you're really, really worried about it, you could just buy enough housing bags to put all your stuff in your housing bags and take it over as part of your inventory.
Yeah, but that can get expensive.
It can, but if you really worry, that would be a workaround.
If you're really worried. Yeah. All right, let's see anything else from Sam over in here. He says, characters on the same server and account gets the escrow stuff automatically put back into the house if you get the same house. Okay, if you get the same house, it automatically gets put back into the house. All right. And I know this because I changed owners when I get a new main. Okay. Okay, so if you get the same house on the same server, so okay, when you say back in the same house, I think it probably means the housing storage because that I can't think of it working any other way because how are they going to the exact position unless it was the exact same house and the exact same location? Then maybe. Anyway, so I guess maybe Sam could clarify on that. Does he mean that it actually gets put into the house or does he mean the housing storage? But while Sam contemplates that, we could head into our week in gaming. And Krister, what were you up to?
Not much gaming this week. This was a week of basically work has reached full power. So after the holidays, and so it was incredibly busy, but incredibly at the end of the week, I had no work emails in my inbox, which was great. And the one thing I did know is that and I don't think it was a surprise at all, they've chosen their destination for the new servers. They've chosen Peregrine, which was not a surprise role playing server. And otherwise, my leak. I think I'm fading faster. Otherwise, the rest of my week was incredibly late. Cinders, what were you up to?
Well, I did delvings for the first time last week, and then I did some just general instances and more delvings with Pine Leaf. And so I've now tried all of the instances in the Legacy of Morgoth area. And then I did the Tomb of Nirgambar and Well of Forgetting with Ploy on Friday night. That was actually a lot of fun, and I learned quite a few things. And so I'm excited to get to do stuff with them again soon. And I'm also looking forward to kind of trading. I will probably go back and forth between Friday night fights and doing stuff with Ploy once we get through the basketball postseason. Because that's going to... Next week, I'm not going to have a lot to talk about because that's going to be my life if I'm actually able to be here next week. So, Pine Leaf, what have you been up to?
All right, I'll begin with my warden who completed the main storyline for the Legacy of Morgoth. Though I am now going back in there in order to take care of a few side quests that I missed along the way. My junior lore master reached Helm's Deep, so getting pretty close, getting ready to finish up that storyline. And no, I am not going to be doing the epic battles. I will be doing I'll be doing the let's skip the epic battles and do the story tales instead. And on Friday Night Fight, we ran the Doom of Kara Skelebrin, and the reason why this is a highlight is because I think the last couple of times I tried Doom of Kara Skelebrin with 6, we had difficulties, but this one it worked perfectly fine. What we had is I saw that we had 2 Guardians, 2 Hunters, a Runekeeper, and a Minstrel, and I said, wow, we have 2 threes in there that we could have, 2 small fellowships in there so that we could split up the party perfectly in order to defend the north and south gates when you do the third assault in there. So I thought this would be the perfect time in which to do Dumakaris Calibran with that group, because when you have unbalanced groups and stuff like this, you're trying to, how do we do this? What do we do this? Okay, who goes north, who goes south, and all that stuff, and it creates all sorts of panic problems. Yeah.
And Pine Leaf yells.
Yeah, and Pine Leaf yells.
Yeah. It squeaks. What are you doing?
Right. So this time it was nice and organized. So it had a nice, perfect setup in there. So I decided that we will do. So I decided to choose Doom Icarus Calibran, and we managed to get through it without any trouble. All right, now Sam, he says that Sam says, I sell the house. It gets put into escrow. I buy the same house with another character. All things get put back in the housing item hooks that they were in. Okay. So
Good, that's even better.
now, of course, that is, yes. So, all right. So, of course, it is. Oh, yes. But now, this case, you're going to a new server yet. So, it's going to know, okay, which house would it use the hooks for? That's sort of like the sort of question that would not answer in there because I'm pretty sure that the hook assignments would be completely different on the two that were in there. Now, the fact that if it is one of the old homeowners that buys it, that if it does get put into the hooks, then it would probably be the ones to the house that person bought. The other possibility is that's just going to throw it into the storage. Responsibly, I said responsibly. Yeah, okay. That was from doing Doom Icarus Calibran. Yes.
Although that's true almost any time you're skirmishing with Finally and not doing what you should be.
Well,
although I have learned there is a third category between responsibly and not responsibly, and that is the somewhat responsibly category.
Responsibly.
Which is it comes out when you are doing something like the Breland one with Heathstraw. What is that one? What is the name of that one?
Defense of the Prancing Pony?
Yes, when you're doing the Defense of the Prancing Pony with what, like
4 people.
Yeah, and it's a 6-man.
Yeah, you have to do it as a 6 though. Yeah.
Yep, that's somewhat responsibly, as opposed to totally irresponsibly. So there's
totally
3 categories.
Yeah.
I have learned. So.
Okay. Anyway, if you would like to send us a note or a letter or question, then you can send it to podcast@loachplayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have Loach Players News, and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. You guys join us for our shows at loachplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight, then. This is Pilot Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.